Hello and welcome back to CG Rated Books. We're on to our next book review for our graphic novel collection. And I want to tell you, this is the most exciting graphic novel I have ever read. This is Grimoire Noir by Vera Greentea, and the illustrator is Yana Bogatch. I want to tell you, the book itself is amazing. This is a hardback, right, with raised print on the front, monogrammed print on the front, monogrammed print on. This is a collector's edition of this book. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. The feel of the book. It's soft. It's felty. It's a heavy book. It's big content. The pages are printed unevenly, so it's not this flat, regular, identical page. It's slightly printed unevenly. And I want to tell you, just having this book, I don't buy a whole lot of books. I want to buy this book. And it's kind of funny to me. I'm a spiritual man. I don't normally get into horror, demonic, witches, vampires. I don't get into those types of storylines. Grimoire Noir is a book about witches. But its presentation, the story in itself, this is a 5-star book. 5-star review for me. 5-star review for me. This thing here is amazing. This is a it's look at that. It's amazing, right? Anyway, let's get into it. The imagery, the artwork on this book. There was a lot of time and energy went into this book. And it paid off. So summary. Bucky Orson is a bit gloomy, but who isn't at 15? His best friend left him to hang out with way cooler friends. His dad is the town sheriff, and wait for it, he lives in Blackwell, a town where all the girls are witches. But when his little sister is kidnapped because of her extraordinary power, Bucky has to get out of his own head and go on a strange journey to investigate the small town that gives him so much grief. In the process, he uncovers the town's painful history and a conspiracy that will change it forever. Beautiful, spooky, and utterly enchanting, Grimoire Noir is a magical story of coming to terms with your own flaws and working past them to protect those dear to you. Even the summary hits, right? Even the summary is hitting on all 8 cylinders. I'm a Mustang fan. I love Mustangs. We're rolling on all 8 cylinders. This is a V8 5.0, 302 cubic inch engine of books. This is the Mustang of books. The illustration, I have to admit that it tells you that there's 2 different people. There's an author and an illustrator. But when you read it and you get involved with the art and the storyline, there is some commentary, not more than in the previous books that we've read, but not a whole lot. It's mostly dialogue as well, and I really do like this concept. I like the story that gets pushed along through dialogue and interaction. It allows you to connect with the character instead of a narrator. Right, so it's not a whole lot of commentary, but the artwork on this here, you would swear up and down. I want to see if I can find some more exciting images. Even the dark panels are really great. Even the dark panels are really great. But the artistry, right? The storylines and the protagonist and the supporting character. Bucky is the main protagonist, but there is his best friend is a young female. So you understand, the separating. It says that he loses his best friend who goes off to hang off with way cooler friends. She's a female. She's a witch. And so she goes off to hang off with other witches. But they were close. They were very, very, very close. It was her best. It was his best friend. She was his best friend. But now, this change. Boys, they cannot wield wizardry. There's no wizards. All the magic is done by witches. Through some spells and through some other magical goings on, but the dark panels are really, really great. I hope you can see it because I'm covering my face, but the dark panels are really great because they are they've got the best contrast. You can still see the story, but the artwork, insane. The artwork is insane in this book. This is a book that you definitely want to take time to own. You gotta own this book. I'm gonna probably order it off of Amazon and just buy it. But it's got a nice combination of colored panels, dark panels, and black and white. Oh wow, excuse me. Not sure where that came from. But the color panels, the black and white panels, the dark panels, there is such fluidity. The characters are outstanding. You feel for Bucky. You can identify with Bucky, and you can identify with the young lady that's his friend. I don't want to ruin too much and start spitting out names and whatnot. You got to read this book. This is definitely a 5-star book. I'm telling you, I was so amazed, and I would highly recommend the story. Okay, so anyway, part of the deal with this book is there's some spoilers in most of my book reviews. Only women can become witches, but the sad part about it, they don't tell you on the back of the book, but almost immediately in the first few pages, you'll find out that all the women are trapped in this town. There is a spell that prevents the witches, the females, from leaving the city. They're born there, they live there, they die there. They're unable to leave the city. So they also don't tell you that the fact that we've got witches in this town is a secret to the rest of the world. Nobody knows that our women this isn't something that's happening everywhere all over the world. It's not even something that's happening in other towns. This is a curse upon this one specific town of Blackwell. And so part of the problem is the women, they all bind together. But that's an issue, right? That's an issue. And while the boy is, he's weird, right? Because his best friend is a girl. He doesn't have a lot of other friends. He doesn't hang out with a whole lot of folks. And when they broke up, he didn't run off and go find another friend. Only his little sister. And he was close to his little sister. And his little sister was a female, was a witch. His mom, a witch. The family was whole and together. Mom and dad, son and daughter. They were all living together. And then one day, the daughter disappears. She's gone. We don't know where she's at. We don't know what's going on. And something's wrong. But the mom is stricken with so much grief. One of her magical, whimsical issues is she has a way of changing the weather. So when the daughter comes up missing, she gets highly depressed. She's stricken with grief. She starts crying and hiding out in a room. And next thing you know, the entire town is cast in this non-stop storm. And so the town is flooding out. Literally, the town is drowning because the mom can't control her grief. And it is having its effect on the town. And so he ends up, and it's really cool because you can see him even on the cover here. He's all dressed up in his detective gear or whatnot. That's basically what really happens. And he ends up trying to find his sister, and he keeps, the young lady, his best friend, is dropping hints. She knows something. And she's unwilling to tell him. She's not willing to tell him. She's leading him around like a puppy. Got him on a string, and she's leading him around. And they had a falling out. So they didn't just go. She didn't just separate. But as you're reading it, you find out that they actually had a falling out. And the young lady is taking it kind of hard. That her best friend, they don't want to associate that much anymore. And so when the daughter comes up missing, when his sister comes up missing, they end up beginning to interact with each other. And they're both hoping that this is a change and that they'll become friends again. But she's dropping these hints, and after a while, you begin to understand that there's more to it. There's something more to it. And she knows something, and you're wondering, if you really want to be my friend and you really want to fix this, why don't you just come on out with it? It doesn't happen. And so, to not ruin the impact of this book, I'm picking it up. I'm loving this book. I want this book. I want to have this book. Anyway, you begin to realize that she knows enough to lead him down these weird paths, and he is coming to conclusions. But as he's coming to these conclusions, you're finding out that he ends up figuring out things that nobody wants to talk about. What happened to this town that turned all these women into witches? Nobody wants to talk about it. He finds out what happened. He finds out also that there's so much betrayal, and that there's so many people that do know, that won't. Everything's hush hush. Everything's hush hush except the fact that we don't want to get out. We don't know what we want to get out, but we don't want to get out. And excellent book. I really enjoyed it. And what do you call a supporting actress? It turns out, though. Can I say that without ruining it? Antagonist, protagonist, right? Spy, double espionage, secret agent. There's a lot of play on in here where there are probably some folks out there that can read this and figure it out, right? But I was dumbfounded all the way up until the end, but I knew that there was something up. Something was wrong, because I was like, well, if you really think this way, and I really thought that she was, kind of protecting herself, right, by not trying to give too much information, give too much, because there's a villain somewhere along in here, and maybe the young lady was afraid. Maybe there was some issue that we weren't going to know, but they do tell you it is a punch in the gut, and a very, very interesting story. So I don't want to ruin the end of the story and tell you what happens, but he ends up finding out what's going on, and he ends up finding out that he has been betrayed by different folks in the city, and the whole means about his family is actually being turned against too, because of the fact that his mother won't calm down and the town is being, I mean, several houses get washed away from flood, and you know, it's a lot of curiosity going on. Great book. I apologize for such a short review, but you're really going to enjoy this book. Now, this book for me was a library find. As I mentioned before, you probably won't get a whole lot of word oddities from graphic novels. There weren't any in here. Very easy read, very easy to follow, and I don't know if Yana was there discussing this book with Vera as she was writing it, but you would swear up and down that the author and the illustrator were the same person, because the connection with the artistry, the images by themselves capture. You can look at the characters and know that that's exact. It's as if the characters were drawn ahead of time and the story was written according to what was already seen. That's kind of what it feels like, because the characters are a perfect match. There is so much depth in the characters. Now there's two. They purpose these sisters. There's two sisters in here. They purpose them as the main antagonists, and you're looking at them, and you're obviously, oh yeah, these are the bad guys. These are the guys. There's a nice twist in this book, and the obvious antagonists are secondary. They're not the primary antagonists, but they've done something crazy, right? So these two sisters, one of them is older, already graduated from high school. Most of these are teenage girls. They're high school age, that are the main characters that are in the story. And there is a coven. There's a witch group, but her sister, the main sister, the oldest one, was the leader, and ended up going to jail. She had done something unspeakable. They were trying to give their brother magical powers. They were trying to turn their brother into a wizard, and in doing so had kind of ripped his soul from his body. And so their brother is currently locked in a room someplace with a mason jar in his lap containing his soul. So the sister goes to jail. The older sister goes to jail. The younger sister takes over the coven, and they go from doing magical stuff to doing, knitting tricks, and not so much. And you think it's a cover up because they're trying to do something more sinister without being public about it. Lots of twists and turns, lots of stuff to get involved. The book itself is awesome to have it in your hand and hold on to it. I recommend, if you are able to and you really want this book, to get the hard copy version. Get the hard copy version. It's well worth it. It is well worth it. Time and energy went into the story. Time and energy went into the illustrations. Time and energy and money went into this book, the physical book itself. Lots of good characters, no backtracking, you can't get lost in the story. You can't get lost in it. Amazing. Can I say that now? About a comic book, an adult comic book. It is crazy. It is crazy. And the young lady, there's the two of them there together. That's the two of them there. That's Bucky and his best friend. And she never likes to touch the ground, so she floats through the entire story. She levitates. She levitates through the whole story. The characters are astounding. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed with this story. Get the book. Get the book. Grimoire Noir. I appreciate you guys taking time out with me today during our book review. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay happy and keep reading.